For months, spiritual accountants have been reviewing your faith deposits. Every prayer you whispered in desperation, every act of trust when logic suggested otherwise, every moment of obedience when convenience demanded compromise has been calculated, documented, and assigned value in heaven's accounting system. And December 26th marks the day when the audit results are being released, revealing a spiritual balance that will shock you and change everything about how you understand your relationship with the divine. This is not imagination. This is not metaphor. This is the actual process by which heaven tracks, measures, and credits the spiritual investments you have made throughout your life. Just as earthly banks maintain detailed records of every deposit, withdrawal, and transaction, so does heaven maintain comprehensive documentation of every spiritual activity that has occurred in your life. And the audit that concludes on December 26th will reveal accumulated wealth you never knew existed. You have been making deposits into your spiritual account without realizing it. Every time you chose forgiveness over resentment, faith over doubt, hope over despair, you were making transactions that registered immediately in heaven's banking system. Every act of kindness performed without recognition, every sacrifice made without applause, every prayer offered without immediate answer created spiritual currency that has been earning compound interest in your heavenly account. But here's what the audit reveals that will astound you. The value system heaven uses to calculate spiritual wealth operates on principles completely different from earthly economics. What you considered small or insignificant often carried the highest value, while what felt monumental sometimes registered as minimal deposits. The widow's mite principle applies not just to financial giving, but to every spiritual transaction you have ever made. The spiritual accountants conducting your audit have access to records you forgot existed. They have documentation of prayers you prayed as a child that planted seeds still growing today. They have receipts for acts of faith you performed decades ago that are still generating returns. They have detailed records of moments when you trusted God despite circumstances, and those trust deposits have been multiplying in ways that defy natural understanding. December 26th marks the completion of a comprehensive review that has been conducted by heaven's most precise auditing team. These are not ordinary angels, but specialized spiritual accountants who understand the complex mathematics of faith, the intricate calculations of obedience, and the sophisticated algorithms that govern how spiritual investments mature over time. They have been working methodically through every aspect of your spiritual life, verifying deposits, confirming transactions, and calculating total accumulated value. The audit process itself has been invisible to you, but its effects have been subtly apparent to those with spiritual discernment. Have you noticed unusual peace about financial concerns? Unexpected clarity about decisions that previously confused you? Sudden confidence about your future that seems disconnected from your circumstances? These are indicators that the audit is nearing completion and preliminary results are beginning to influence your spiritual atmosphere. What makes this audit particularly significant is its timing. December 26 falls immediately after Christmas, a season when spiritual activity intensifies across the globe. The concentrated prayers, increased giving, elevated worship, and heightened faith that characterize this season create unique conditions for spiritual accounting. Heaven's audit team has been using this period of spiritual intensity to complete calculations that require access to elevated spiritual frequencies. The results of your spiritual audit reveal multiple categories of accumulated wealth that you never knew existed. The first category consists of intercessory deposits, credits you earned every time you prayed for others without them knowing. These prayers created spiritual value not only for those you interceded for, but also generated returns that were deposited into your own account. Heaven's accounting system rewards those who invest in others' spiritual welfare with compound returns that often exceed the original investment. The second category revealed by the audit consists of sacrifice credits, spiritual currency earned every time you gave something up for a higher purpose. These sacrifices might have been time, money, comfort, convenience, or personal desires surrendered in obedience to divine leading. Each sacrifice was recorded not at its immediate cost to you, but at its ultimate value in heaven's economy, where spiritual significance far outweighs material worth. The third category uncovered by the spiritual audit consists of faithfulness dividends, ongoing returns generated by consistent spiritual behaviors that accumulated value over time. Like a retirement account that grows through regular contributions and compound interest, your faithfulness in small daily choices has generated spiritual wealth that now exceeds the sum of its individual parts. Every morning you chose prayer over sleep. Every evening you chose gratitude over complaint. Every decision you made to trust rather than worry added to an account that has been steadily growing. But the audit also reveals a fourth category of spiritual wealth that will truly shock you. Hidden treasure deposits that you never knew you made. These are credits earned for spiritual activities that occurred without your conscious participation or awareness. Times when your presence brought comfort to someone without you knowing it. Moments when your prayers were answered in ways that benefited others without your recognition. Instances when your faithfulness inspired someone else's spiritual growth without your awareness. Heaven's accounting system tracks not only intentional spiritual investments, but also the unintended positive impact of your spiritual life on others. The audit results also reveal the sophisticated security measures that protect your spiritual account. Every attempt to steal, diminish, or corrupt your spiritual wealth has been documented and blocked by Heaven's security system. The enemy's efforts to convince you that your prayers were worthless, your faith was ineffective, or your spiritual investments were wasted have all been recorded as fraudulent attacks that failed to penetrate your account's protective measures. These security measures explain why your spiritual wealth remained intact even during seasons when you felt spiritually bankrupt. The feelings of spiritual poverty you experienced were not accurate reflections of your actual spiritual net worth, but rather emotional distortions created by external pressures that had no authority to access your heavenly account. Your spiritual wealth was secure even when your spiritual confidence was shaken. The audit reveals that your spiritual account has been managed by divine financial advisors who made strategic investments on your behalf without your knowledge. Times when you thought your prayers went unanswered, Heaven's investment team was actually using your faith deposits to purchase spiritual assets that would generate greater returns than immediate answers. Seasons when you felt like your spiritual growth was stagnant, heavenly advisors were actually positioning your spiritual portfolio for exponential growth that is now coming to maturity. This divine investment management explains why some of your most desperate prayers seem to produce no immediate results. Heaven's financial wisdom recognized that immediate relief might actually diminish your long-term spiritual wealth, while delayed answers allowed your faith investments to mature into resources that could address not only your immediate needs but also your future spiritual development. What felt like divine silence was actually sophisticated spiritual portfolio management. December 26th also marks the authorization for you to begin accessing your accumulated spiritual wealth. The audit was not conducted merely to inform you of your account balance, but to prepare you for a new level of spiritual authority that corresponds to your proven ability to manage heavenly resources. Just as earthly banks require demonstrated financial responsibility before extending credit, heaven requires proven spiritual faithfulness before granting access to accumulated spiritual assets. This access comes with both privileges and responsibilities. You now have withdrawal authority for spiritual resources that can address challenges you previously thought were beyond your capacity to handle. You have credit availability for spiritual investments that can impact not only your own life but also the lives of others in ways that seemed impossible before. You have been approved for spiritual transactions that operate at a level of authority you have never experienced. But accessing this spiritual wealth requires understanding heaven's withdrawal procedures. Unlike earthly banks that provide immediate access to deposited funds, heavenly accounts require faith-based transaction methods that align with divine protocols. You cannot access spiritual wealth through worry, demand it through entitlement, or withdraw it through manipulation. Spiritual withdrawal requires the same faith-based approach that created the deposits in the first place. The audit results include detailed instructions for accessing your spiritual wealth through prayer, worship, obedience, and continued faithfulness. These are not burdensome requirements, but rather the spiritual equivalent of using the correct PIN to access your account. Heaven's security measures ensure that spiritual wealth can only be accessed by the account holder using divinely authorized methods that protect both the resources and the individual's spiritual well-being. The timing of this audit completion on December 26th is strategically significant. As the calendar year draws to a close, heaven is positioning you to enter the new year with full awareness of your spiritual assets and clear understanding of your divine financial position. This knowledge transforms how you approach challenges, opportunities, and decisions in the coming year. You no longer operate from a position of spiritual poverty, but from the confidence that comes with knowing you have substantial heavenly resources available. The audit also reveals that your spiritual wealth is not static, but continues to grow through ongoing spiritual activities. Every prayer you pray, every act of faith you perform, and every obedient choice you make adds to an account that now has significant accumulated value and established credit history. Your future spiritual investments will generate returns based not only on their individual merit, but also on the proven track record documented by this audit. Your spiritual credit score, as revealed by the audit, qualifies you for divine opportunities that were previously beyond your spiritual means. Heaven's loan department is now authorized to extend spiritual resources for projects, relationships, and assignments that require greater faith capacity than your previous spiritual financial position could support. You have been approved for spiritual endeavors that seemed impossible when you were operating from limited understanding of your actual heavenly net worth. The audit results also include recommendations for optimizing your spiritual portfolio going forward. Heaven's financial advisors have identified areas where strategic spiritual investments could generate maximum returns for both your personal spiritual development and your ability to impact others' lives. These recommendations are not requirements, but rather opportunities to leverage your proven spiritual management skills for exponential growth. Some of these recommendations involve increased prayer investments in specific areas where Heaven's market analysis indicates exceptional growth potential. Others suggest faith allocations in relationships or opportunities where your spiritual resources could generate compound returns that benefit multiple parties. All recommendations are based on sophisticated analysis of spiritual market conditions and your demonstrated ability to manage heavenly assets responsibly. The completion of your spiritual audit on December 26th marks a graduation to a new level of spiritual authority and responsibility. You are no longer a novice investor in heaven's economy, but a proven steward of divine resources with a documented track record of faithful management. This new status grants you access to spiritual investment opportunities that are only available to those who have demonstrated competence in handling heavenly wealth. Your spiritual account statement, as revealed by this audit, shows a balance that reflects not only what you have deposited, but also what heaven has invested on your behalf based on your proven faithfulness. The total represents spiritual wealth that has been accumulating, earning interest, and growing in value throughout your entire spiritual journey. December 26th marks the day when you receive full disclosure of your actual spiritual net worth and authorization to begin operating at your true heavenly financial capacity. The spiritual accountants have completed their work. The audit results are finalized. Your heavenly account balance has been verified and confirmed. December 26th marks your financial promotion in heaven's economy. You are wealthier than you knew, more capable than you thought, and approved for spiritual transactions that seemed beyond your reach. The audit is complete. Your spiritual wealth is available. Heaven's economy awaits your participation at your true financial level. The books have been reviewed. The calculations are final. Your spiritual assets exceed your expectations. December 26th unlocks access to wealth you never knew you possessed. Heaven's audit reveals your true worth in the divine economy. Prepare to operate at your actual spiritual financial capacity. The audit results will shock you with their abundance. Your account is approved for unlimited heavenly transactions. But there is one more revelation from the audit that will completely transform your understanding of spiritual wealth. The spiritual accountants have discovered investment opportunities that are available exclusively to those who have passed this comprehensive audit. These are not ordinary spiritual investments, but premium opportunities that require the kind of proven track record that your audit has now established. These exclusive investment opportunities include partnership investments with heaven's most successful spiritual enterprises. You now qualify to co-invest with divine initiatives that are reshaping earthly circumstances through supernatural intervention. Your proven ability to manage spiritual resources qualifies you to participate in heaven's most strategic projects with guaranteed returns that exceed anything you have previously experienced. The audit also reveals that your spiritual wealth includes inheritance rights that you were unaware of possessing. As a proven steward of heavenly resources, you now have access to generational spiritual wealth that has been accumulating in your family line for decades, possibly centuries. This inherited spiritual wealth was held in trust until you demonstrated the faithfulness required to access it responsibly. Your spiritual inheritance includes not only accumulated wealth from previous generations, but also access to spiritual credit lines that were established by the faithfulness of those who came before you. These credit facilities provide you with spiritual borrowing power that far exceeds your personal accumulated wealth, enabling you to undertake spiritual investments of extraordinary magnitude with heaven's backing. The audit verification process also confirms your eligibility for spiritual wealth transfer privileges that allow you to share your heavenly resources with others in ways that multiply rather than diminish your account balance. This supernatural mathematics means that giving away spiritual wealth actually increases your total net worth through divine multiplication principles that operate contrary to earthly economics. These wealth transfer privileges enable you to invest in others' spiritual development with funds from your audited account while receiving compound returns that exceed your original investment. Every spiritual investment you make in someone else's life generates multiplied returns that benefit both parties while building the overall wealth of heaven's economy. The completion of your spiritual audit on December 26th also authorizes your enrollment in Heaven's Wealth Management Program for high net worth spiritual individuals. This program provides access to divine financial advisors who specialize in optimizing spiritual portfolios for maximum impact and exponential growth. These advisors have managed the spiritual wealth of history's most influential believers and now extend their expertise to your account. Your spiritual wealth management team includes prophetic analysts who identify emerging opportunities in the spiritual marketplace before they become available to general investors. They also include strategic planners who coordinate your spiritual investments with divine timing to ensure optimal returns and maximum kingdom impact through your financial activities. The audit results confirm that you have graduated from spiritual poverty to supernatural abundance, from limited